Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today. We'll be going over our ClickMail product. My name is Randy Kenny. I'm the Guide Products Manager, and presenting today will be Michelle Reidman, who is our CSI Practice Director. We're excited to show you the product. This being a webinar, however, it's not conducive to be interactive, so please use the Q&A or the chat, and we will definitely save time at the end to answer any and all questions. We'll also be sending out the recording, so you'll have that if there are people from your organization that could not attend today. So with that, Michelle, turn it over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Randy. Much appreciated. And I am going to start off here. Okay. And I'm sharing my screen. So this, although it's not interactive from an interpersonal standpoint, we are going to have the opportunity to go into the solution today. So first of all, Randy, can you verify that my screen is sharing?
It is sharing and looks good.
Fantastic. As Randy said, my name is Michelle Reidman, and here at Guide Technologies, I wear a number of hats, but one of those primary hats is being the director of our services practice. The focus is, of course, on Sightline, the ERP that powers CloudSuite Industrial, and the surrounding products in that space. One of the things that we also do at Guide is we build products as well. One of the Guide products, and that's why everybody is here today, is called ClickMail. So how many of you, does this resonate? Do any of your customers, do any of your team members wear this face when you bring up the conversation of emailing out of CSI and Sightline? I am guessing that you answered yes. It can be a little frustrating, right? One of the particular frustrations is the time and effort that people have to manually spend going into the system, printing, attaching, tailoring invoices, and these are for a number of types of documents. The big ones are those custom order invoices and purchase orders, but there are many types of documents that can be a little frustrating to your team. Well, you're here today, and we're here to show you and walk you through a better solution for that, right? So not to worry, take a deep breath, and we'll be able to have happy users, happy customers, right, and happy suppliers. And we'll walk you through this. At the top level, what are the problems that we're running into? Well, I hit on that image before of emailing can be cumbersome and inefficient. In our discussions with folks, in fact, we're doing an implementation of ClickMail. One of the teams, their individual spends over 40 hours a week, or excuse me, over 40 hours a month doing these type of activities just for one document, right? So when you think about the impact in your individual processes and how are people generating and printing the reports, right? Some of the challenges that we run into, the why people are spending so much time, is the from email address is generic. It's a no reply. It's a system generated email address that can be tough to get through to the people that are your intended audience. And the tailored message, right? Being able to tailor the message, attach documents at will, know what you sent, was it delivered, right? What did you send to whom, when, and did it go through or not? And then another limitation that we have solved is contact management on the supplier side, on the vendors, is limited. There's one field. So we'll be talking about how we have solved that solution. So here's our lineup for today. what we're going to cover is dynamic email creation, how we can quickly create and edit emails that are coming from the system, so we don't have to do double work or redundant tasks. We'll focus on the enhanced contact management, how we can manage those, the hierarchy of contacts, not only in the additional contract capability we've added for vendors, but the whole system, how we could easily build, and we have those personalized templates, so customizable templates that you and your team members can manage. Doesn't require development, right? You can manage those. And our email tracking and search, okay? How do we find what went to who, when, and the status? And then we'll also highlight how we can support some advanced variables, right? This could be a particular, maybe it's a default contact name, it's the vendor name, it is the PO number, it's the amount, it's an item number, all of those things that are variables within the system. So on the right-hand side, you'll see really that's the core of what we really tried to solve, and that's the ethos of this ClickMail solution. It extends and layers on top of the ERP, but our goal first and foremost is to create an improved, enhanced, efficient process for your users to send and manage your communications with fewer clicks, right? Less steps. It's intuitive, easy to use, easy to manage, right? And overall, everyone is happier. Okay, so let's get started. Let's see ClickMail in action. And we're going to begin with dynamic email creation. I'm going to show you a few scenarios of how the system functions, and that's going to give you a little bit of a use case scenario. So you'll get to see how this plays out. Okay, and Randy, confirm you can still see my screen now that I've switched?
Yes, indeed.
Fantastic. So this may look familiar to you all. I'm actually logged into a real live system today. This is our ClickMail solution. This layered on top of our guide SaaS environment, running the latest and greatest, right? Again, this looks familiar. This is not slideware, so it's a real live demo. What you're seeing here is the customer orders form. And I'm looking at a particular order, MMR6, and if I click on this next one, MMR5, of course, this is going to refresh here. And you'll notice the standard bank of buttons, there's a new one that you don't have at the bottom, email document. This is where ClickMail jumps into the standard user interface, right? We extend that so it's very easy and familiar. All your user has to do to send this first use case is the order verification. So standard Sightline and CSI, you go to the order, your customer service team enters the customer order, and then they have to bring up the order verification report. They'd have to email it. You enter the order, and with one click, you can then send the email. This is what your user, so again, if I'm Michelle, the customer service rep. I have the ability to choose from a template. It defaults for me, so I have a default template that I can use, which brings in the text body. We have two different modes, and we'll talk about that in a little bit when we get into our how do we tailor and customize those messages with our email templates. This is a text versus HTML. And you'll see that we're using real information. So this is the customer name. This has all been translated. This is our company name and the customer order number. You'll also see the dynamic properties rendering, okay? So just orienting you here. So with one click, I come in here, and if I want to tailor the message, if I want to add anything, add a special message as a user, I can. So this says, thank you for your business, and I can add in, I appreciate working with you. So as a customer service rep, I have a starting point, or I can refine and tailor this. We keep track of the references and notes, so this is going into the email. If I also wanted to come in and add reference notes, my notes, this will show up later. So the reply to is defaulted in the template. Any of this information can be overridden. I'm just kind of giving you an orientation to what this looks like. We're utilizing all of the standard email information in the system and the contacts. So by default, it's going to be sent to a Smith, okay? And if I wanted to adjust that, this is the contacts that are coming from the customer record. I can adjust that. I can also come in and add, or I can freeform whatever I would like. So let's say I want to add Randy. So I've just on the fly put in a CC. I could do a BCC as well. Now by default, what's going to happen is the order verification report, which is configured with this template, is what's going to be sent. So I had one click here, update, optional. If I want to take the defaults as they are, then all I have to do is click send email. If I would like to add additional documents, okay, that are maybe other things, it's a proposal review, something else that I would like to go along with this message, I can do that on the fly by attaching the documents. We'll talk more about that later. So simple, 2 clicks, and I send the email. Right now, it's in process, okay? So I have done a dynamic email generation, and this is now in play. Now I'll come back to that. Would like to show you a couple more scenarios. So on the purchase order, now I'm Michelle, I'm the buyer, and I've just wrapped up this particular purchase order. And I want to, again, same user interface, I want to send it to the contacts. This is going to, I can choose, I want to choose my purchase order template, and then I can send this information out through, again, with the send. Okay. I'll show you as well on the invoice. So for those of you in finance, you can, or for those of you in IT, you probably hear from your users, boy, it's difficult to reprint an invoice, and what's the easiest way for me to send an invoice to the receivables team or the payables team, right, for for your customer. So simply put, you go into your invoice listing to reprint, and I'm looking for a particular order number, and this one was MMR5. I could also choose on the date, I could choose the invoice number. Okay, so this one is going to be invoice INV 2403, and to email that document. Okay, and here I have my template, and we'll get to see the dynamicness flow through here, and then it's as simple as send. So find your invoice, 2 clicks, and you've sent that to your client, you've adjusted, you've tailored the message, right, as well. Okay, so let me pop back and let's take stock of where we are. So we talked about that dynamic email creation, right? We quickly edited and sent the email. That was literally, I'm on the place that I'm working. Based on the persona, who I am, my role, I am in customer orders. I'm looking up the invoice. I'm on the purchase order. I literally have 2 clicks, and I can dynamically attach and edit and send. It's on its way. Okay, now let's dive into a little bit more the contact management. How do we manage all of these contacts, and what about the hierarchy? Those of you, if there are questions kind of perking in your brains, this is a common question. Does it consider the hierarchy of the system? Let's take a look. Okay, so the the missing area where we've extended is on the supplier, on the vendor. There isn't a corresponding vendor contacts or supplier contacts like there is in the customer area, sales contacts. So guess what? We built it. We built it and brought it in to layer in with our ClickMail solution. It just made sense. So here what you get to do is create your contacts, and then exactly like the users are familiar with on the sales contact, where you associate your contacts to a customer. Here, there's me, and I am associated right now to Bicycle Parts Company. So if I would like to, I can add in and I can simply choose, I would also like to be a contact of bicycle supplies. So there you have it. Now I am a contact of bicycle supplies, and I'm automatically in the drop down of contacts for others within the organization to include me on communication, whether it be a purchase order or something else going from the system related to this supplier. What this does is it really gives you the ability to put the data in the system, and you don't have to type email addresses, and you can reflect who is working with your particular suppliers in all facets of your organization. Okay, and to draw your attention back to the form, it is limited right now. We have one external and one internal email address, right? And a single name. So that's why we did what we did to build that out for you. Okay, so not only are we taking this into consideration, but what about the rest of the story? So what I'm looking at right now, this is the customer document profile. There's also vendor document profiles. So those come into play and are used as the body of who do we want to send this communication out to, right? So everything that's in the system, if you're using those, and it's optional, mind you, the system is a ClickMail solution is designed to be very scalable and very flexible. So it is not limited to only using the document profile engine, for example, as its means to know who you want to send what to. So we've created another higher level that will allow you the flexibility. If you're using customer document profiles, vendor document profiles, that's fantastic because you don't have to change what you're doing today. We just get to leverage that in the now enhanced communication that ClickMail provides your team. So for example, you see here, I am tagged with customer 3 as a contact on the order verification report. Okay, so that email address will also be available to be added when I send that. And let me show you, I'll just quickly go back. Let's go back to our customer order. Okay, and in here we had sent this, so there's the 2. We see that there was me and then there was the sysadmin. So there's a hierarchy. I can default from the template. I can pull in additional contacts and again, tailor that. Okay. So all together in the hierarchy of the solution. So let's take a tour back. We've tracked our multiple contacts, right? We've talked about the flexibility and structure to dynamically type in or to use all of the awesome data that's in the system. Next, let's go in and let's explore a little bit more about how we can flex those templates. You guys are probably really wanting to know a little bit more about that detail. How do we get the defaults in there? Okay, so let's have a quick look, and we'll pivot back to the solution, and let's look at our email templates. Okay, so we were reviewing, by the way, we start you with a standard set of email templates so that you, right out of the gates, have a construct to use. And with those common email templates, again, those are editable, and then you have the ability to create your own. Someone here in this session today is probably wondering a little bit about access controls. Again, based on who you want to give access to be able to manage and monitor these templates, that is flexible with the standard user permission framework that we have within CSI and Sightline on Mongoose. So this template is our customer orders. We have a number of tabs. I'm not going to get into the grit about all of this, but essentially we associate a report to the template and we put some defaults. If we have a default reply to, how many of you, I'm asking a question and I know you won't be able to answer real time, but how many of you would love to have a distribution group reply to rather than the system level reply to? And you'd like that to be on invoices, perhaps your receivables team, and for order verifications, your customer service team. For returns, you can have another team. So by template, we can have a default reply to that is your own distribution group. Okay, so again, it's hierarchical with the definition of who defaults in to receive these messages based on the template, as well as some CC and BCCs if we need to blind copy another box. Okay. We can manage whether it's active or not, which helps us maintain a clean system so we're not using old templates. And in the message, we type out the message. We're using those properties. We'll talk about those in a little bit. And then if by default, we've seen some of our clients have PDF terms and conditions that they would like to have sent with each order verification or each confirmation or with each bid, right? So if you have standard documents that you would like to go along with every email that uses this template, we can attach that document and that will be sent as well. Okay, so we get to tailor the message, flexible templates. Okay, here is an estimate template. Again, thank you, we're doing the dynamic, and then here is our invoice template and the purchase order. Again, it can be as dynamic or as basic as you would like. Now, I know somebody's going to pick up on the fact you said, Michelle, you mentioned text and HTML. I did. So if you have someone on your team, whether it's your marketing team or someone who's managing the team that's managing your website, these are usually good folks who can assist in putting HTML, a code, and then it's a simple copy and paste into the body of the message to bring about a very dynamic with bold, with pictures and so on message. Okay. All right. So one of the things that, of course, I will show you is one of the emails that has been generated from the system too. So just giving you a feeling here for the capability to set the templates, to manage that, as well as to dynamically change it on the fly. Okay. Before I go here, the template that you create, ours that we provide as your starting point as part of our starter kit, not every communication is related to every form and to every document, right? I certainly probably wouldn't have a something about my customer's invoice as a template that went to a supplier. So to resolve that and make sure that it's targeted and it's easy for our teams to use, we have the ability to identify which forms go with which templates. Okay, so right here, this is going with the customer orders form. So this template is associated with the customer orders form. If we had something that was a little bit more generic, perhaps it was a just a check-in of the status. So maybe we wanted to have that on the estimates as well as the customer orders. So I can quickly manage that, and I could add this to my estimates. Now you'll notice that there's an active box. There's also, we have the ability to lock something down to a particular user or to be used by everyone. Okay, so you kind of get the picture of how that works. So template management, let's cycle back here and take stock. Template management, basically dynamic. We give you a starter kit to begin, and then you can flex those, associate those where applicable, and it gets your teams with professional, really starting with those professional, consistent messages across the board. Okay. So next, let's look at what happened when I hit send, right? Did it go? What was the status? Let's look at the email tracking and how do I see what went to whom, when, and if it was successful. So we've created a form that is the outbound email queue. And this outbound email queue is really, this is your search. This is the source of truth of everything that has happened in system by user. So me, I'm M. Reidman. I can see that someone else did something. So just to show you the power of this, we have the date sent, the who sent it, what template, what form it was generated from, and any notes. So if I wanted to look at everything that was sent today and that actually did go, okay, there's two messages. And let's look at that time. 1:13, okay, that was just a few minutes ago. And then there was one that went a little bit earlier. Okay, and then I can see the actual message that was sent. So all of these are a filter. We have the ability to filter. Here was a copy, and this is who it went to. You notice that message in there says my notes. And let's do a little bit more, complex of a copy or of a filter. So let's back that out and let's say I really don't know, but I know it said notes, and I'm pretty sure that it was that this was in there. Okay, so let's look and see what we have here. Let's get, oops, got my double clicker going too many times here. There it is in the My Notes, and you can query on the references. Notice on the right. So there, let's do this, MMR star. So then I'll see the order number. And if I want to clear my notes, I can see all of the things that were for that order, regardless of who did it. It just so happens that it was me. Not a surprise since I was the CSR on this particular one. Okay, this was sent. So all of these were sent, and we see what happened. Okay. If I wanted to have a look at the particular item, so let's go look at my downloads, and then I can save that. So quickly, I would be able to open up that document. And let me just scroll back. And that will be in my downloads folder. And there it is. So I didn't need to reprint. I didn't need to reprint to do that at all. I could easily go and see what we sent. So I have a full body of record to validate what went to whom, when, if it was successful. And not only that, but I get to actually look at the document that we sent them. Okay, let me get back to our presentation. So the who, the from, the date, and the contents, all of those taken into consideration. Okay, and next let's get a little more complicated. So I'm going to spin my propeller a little bit faster now on the technical side and talk about variables. For those of you in IT, this is going to make a lot of sense. For those of you that aren't in IT, you know the fields that you want to use. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and how the system uses this information. Okay, to get started, we are going to look at the email templates. So in the message, in the body of the message, I'm going to use this one as an example. So with each area, there are key fields. So if you think about it like this, any field that is available on the report that is in the system, including your UETs, your user-defined fields, related tables, anything that you have extended your CSI and Sightline solution to bring in. Let's say some of you have some additional information about the configuration choices, and you may want to pull in, well, here are the details, and there is a field or fields that show the summary of that configuration. You wanted to pull in, again, it could be anything and everything. Those are related to the order. So simply said, we start with out of the starting blocks with all of the standard fields that we expect, all the standard fields that are associated to the order, that are part of that order verification. They're all right there. We can call the property. This is a dynamic substitution. Okay, here I have on the invoice, this is the invoice, so I'm obviously pulling invoice number. I am pulling the customer's PO number because they always want that. I'm pulling in the salesperson of the order, and we're referring to the item, and then to them we could have their contact information. It could be, this could also be a send, hi, we have this invoice that's outstanding, so we could have the invoice total. All of those are possibilities. So that's where we begin in our capability of dynamic substitution. And there's really no end. Any related data to these areas, estimates, orders, purchase orders, RMAs, service orders. We can't forget our service side of the house. For those of you who are doing after sales service or sending field technicians out or doing more of a depot repair or using the field service or the service module in any way, that is also a component. Okay. So dynamic substitution, so no one has to look up. Really the why here is accuracy and effort. We configure the template, it pulls the data, it's always right, and your team didn't have to do it. Okay, so that is really a primer to start with. And then, as I said, there's no limit to what we can pull in from a property standpoint. Okay, now I've showed a lot, and just to give you a recap, right, we talked about we can create those emails in 2 clicks, right? So once the customized templates are configured, we put in the defaults for the contacts that we want to use, right? And then it's 2 clicks to send out professional communication. And simply all in one form, one-stop shopping to determine if it was successful, if your user needs to know that, but they can pretty much count on that as going to be successful. And then the advanced variable support and being able to really get the content dialed in. So we don't have to look up data, right? Your team does not have to look up data. Okay. So obviously that's very powerful. Let's review those benefits. So you get to track the contacts, right? Easily and rapidly update and tailor your messages. You've got a historical record to share across your interdepartmental teams, right? No longer is it locked in to someone's outbox, right? Or your email system. And of course, the connection of your CloudSuite and Sightline to your email system, that is all there. So you have the individual record there, but it's sometimes really tough for team members to know, did that get sent? Yes, it did, and here's where it went, right? And of course, with all of that deep connection to your email server between CSI and Sightline, then you have the ability to receive a notice of undelivered mails when something failed. Okay. Highlighting, recapping the key areas, those key core processes that ClickMail supports. So the customer orders and order verification, the invoice, the estimate response form, the RMA credit memo, the purchase order report, and the service order invoice. Now, we haven't stopped building and thinking and plotting and scheming, right? I'm rubbing my hands together because we realize that this isn't everything. So we've been hard at work over the last quarter, and we have now we're in the early adopter stage for our new feature enhancements. This is in Q1 2025 for individual statement, customer statement processing, and batch processing of statements. Also, this is very, very highly requested, and so we're very pleased to have this gone through initial early adopter testing, and that is batch processing for customer order invoicing and credit memo, where you come into that process onto the customer order invoicing credit memo form itself, and then there's a batch email send. So it hits both sides. So the value proposition for this is, of course, not only can you send the individual, think of that as your reprint, easily find an invoice and send something again, but we're supporting the use case of sending invoices automatically to a predefined set of distribution email recipients with a professional tailored unique message to them in batch. So making it easy for your team members and professional, and hopefully it shrinks the amount of time that it takes for them to turn around those payments to your receivables team. So customer statements and the order invoicing batch processing. So on the statement side, do note that's both individual statement processing as well as sending statements to a set, to a group of customers in a similar fashion to the invoice batch processing. Now, don't just take our word for it. You know, we're at Guide Technologies. Of course, we built this because we saw that there is value. This is a testimonial from one of our clients, and they are really just dialing out here the value benefit for them. They get to choose the correct people. They're no longer sending things to not the right people. Those right people are getting the documents that they need, right? Every time. It's flexible and it's efficient, and all the other solutions that they looked at couldn't bring all of that right into the UI of the application and the system that the team is using. So 2 clicks it's 2 clicks away. Successful communication is 2 clicks away. Before I open it up for Q&A, I do want to just do a quick, I'd like to show some email samples, some ones that just came through. So let me pull those up briefly. Okay, and here is the email that came up. And you'll notice that this was the from. So because it was coming, I know it was a from and to for me, singular, but this would be from the address that you would like to. So what often happens in many organizations is we have more of a team from or a department from, and then the reply to is different. So keep in mind that the from could be a no reply, but if you do a reply, so I click on this and I do a reply, the reply to is configured in that template. So no longer will your no replies be the last stop. So with that reply to, that could be your distribution group or you personally. One of the problem statements that we've heard from many of our constituents is sometimes you're trying to send personalized things from the system and keep that consistency, and it didn't show that it was from you, right? So being able to have an email from a real person to get through spam filters, to get to your audience without it being blocked is important. And then we see the attachment, and this is what we saw for my order MMR5. And then there's the attachment in system, and that's what we looked at earlier. Okay, so not only was I able to see it there, but I opened it from the attachment.
Very good. We've had a few questions come through. So first
Excellent.
one, when the email gets sent, will it show in customer/vendor interactions form?
That is, thank you so much for asking that, because that is a roadmap item that we have on our list. Who was the asker?
Shion, if I said that correct.
Excellent, excellent. So we have that on our roadmap, and where we are right now is determining the value that would bring to the team members. So we have that in, I would call it like a top 5 focus for our feature enhancements for ClickMail. So thank you. Sean, if you don't mind, I'd love to connect with you after and get your take on that value proposition, and that would be very useful, right?
Yeah, I
Awesome.
agree.
Thank you.
Next question, are the notes that were pulled into the notes field in the email form coming from the system notes attached to the order/line?
Okay. So we're looking at, so if I look at my outbound email queue, these notes are dynamic notes for the particular communication that I was sending. I think that's was the question, is this coming from if I'm on the customer order and I'm looking at, let's see here, let me bring up the customer order. I think you're talking about the system notes on the toolbar. So
Yep.
those were different. those were different because that allowed the user to pull in something. So this was order MMR5, and it was independent. So it was more like a notation that went along with the email communication, as opposed to the notes here. So it is independent.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Very good. And then the next one, would it be possible to build an HTML body that would have information populate from custom data fields on a form?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think you
The short
touched on
answer
that.
is
Yep.
yes, in
Exactly.
that when we look at the templates themselves, the one that I was showing here was, let me just save this guy. And cancel, and look at hang on, let me refresh. Nope. That's because I was doing my cross-reference for anybody who was following and I didn't save it. So it's trying to keep me honest in my data integrity in place. So here in your HTML, the HTML also has the dynamic substitution and rendering. Think about this as you can have your verbiage, right? If I look at one of these, let's scroll down a little bit. Again, it's HTML. So using an editor is great. One of the other things that we have considered is doing a WYSIWYG, like bringing in a component of an HTML editor that would help you to do this type of work easier, for those who are preparing the template. That is also a potential on the thing we're thinking about stage in the roadmap. So here, this is actual verbiage, right? So we can use the properties as well as anything in here to dynamically render this.
Yeah, to really visualize it. There's plenty of good HTML editors out there.
There are. So yeah. And so let me just I'm looking right here at all of my progressive industries emails, and here I have an email, and you can see that in this particular scenario, I have a block, right? So this is HTML, and it also has the attachments. So this can render as well and do the same type of substitution.
Yep. And another question came in. Will this also integrate with custom forms?
So custom reports.
Custom forms.
Custom forms. So yes, it does extend to any data element that you have. So there's two elements of that. We say custom form / data, how we've extended our data. So if you have a form that you've built, let's say you have a form that is not customer orders, and you would like, in your use case, you would love to leverage ClickMail. That is absolutely doable because we can extend the ClickMail solution to custom forms. That is a little bit of configuration for us to do, but it is not difficult, right?
Right.
We're assuming that structure. So the short answer is yes.
Yeah, that actually brings up a good side topic in that with this solution, there's obviously a licensing component to it, but also a services piece that, once we kind of understand your use cases and so forth, we would quote that minimal, but we're not just going to send you the software. We work with you on getting it installed, getting it implemented to fit your specific use cases.
Right. Typically, a starter is very it's very quick, right? To come into your environment and to install, to load the ClickMail components, and then you will see the email documents, and then it's a matter of simply going in and tailoring what you want the body to be. So right out of the gates, a bit like when you're starting with your ERP system and there's the DALS LA database, right? You're starting not from zero. So there's installation and some configuration. And for those of you where you would like some additional use cases configured in your environment, then we'll talk about the scope of that, and we can add that to your getting started implementation package.
Yep, absolutely. So that is all the questions that I see so far. So thank you, everyone, for your time today. Michelle, thank you. Wendy, same, thank you. We'll send this out, and you can certainly reach out to us if any questions come up or if you'd like additional information.